Helena, welcome to Forward Joy. I'm so excited to talk about astrocartography because I'm obsessed with astrology. And word on the street is you are the girl to talk to about astrocartography.
Yeah, it's my favorite topic to talk about. I started getting online talking about this back in like 2020, and then I started my business end of 2021, and it's the tool that has been gaining momentum and traction, and even businesses are starting to use it that aren't into astrology, like cruise lines and hotels and travel
Oh,
advisors. They're
that's
all
actually really
starting to get in
brilliant.
on this.
Yes. We're going to get into all the things. And my favorite question to ask everyone to kick it off is what were you like as a child?
Oh my gosh, this is such a fascinating question. I was bold. I was very expressive,
Yeah.
always, putting on flamboyant outfits, leading groups in my neighborhood, like getting all the kids together to like put on shows and run around into different people's houses. And I was also always journaling. I was like
Mm,
in
me
my
too.
free time, in my alone time, just hiding up in a tree in my front yard and just head in my journal and like watching people in my neighborhood and writing down things that I noticed about them.
Oh my God, fascinating. Yeah, I'm a big journaler. Very like, oh my God, it's just been so important to like my own internal world and like emotional well-being. Like that was my first like self-regulation tool was my journal.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so helpful, especially if you're going through a hard time at all in life, like turning to the journal to ask questions
Mm,
and talk yourself through something and kind of
totally.
rephrasing or reframing, how you think, I think is one of the best tools we can have.
I completely agree. So now, when did you start getting into astrology?
Yeah. My mom was really into it. Like when I was
I
born,
love
she had
that.
her astrologer like make a packet of my birth chart. And we had a bookshop around the corner from my house growing up as a teenager. And it wasn't until I was a teenager, like junior year of high school, so 2011, a friend gifted me the book, The Secret Language of Relationships. I don't know if
Oh,
you've ever read
yes.
that book. Have you read it?
100%, yes.
Oh yeah. And I became obsessed. And I'm still obsessed to this day. Every time I have someone's birthday, I have like look up the Secret Language of Relationships book. But and so I became obsessed with like understanding people and their relationships and how certain
Hmm.
people got along with others. And
Yeah.
that was in high school and we had a bookshop around the corner from my house. So I would always go to the astrology section. I would, read all the books by the Astro Twins and
Yeah.
Linda Goodman and Sun Signs and all that. And then
Hmm.
it wasn't until so I was obsessed with it for years in my 20s, but it wasn't until I moved to France in 2018.
Hmm.
And this kind of goes into the astrocartography component of like my relocation chart shifted when I
Hmm.
moved to France. And
Yeah.
the story of going deep into astrology was like, boom, activated. And I became
Wow.
obsessed with it in my free time. And then I learned about astrocartography when I moved out here because I felt this feeling of like I belong here. I feel grounded and rooted here. I felt that feeling of home for the first time in my life. And so I got into astrocartography just to Google search, learning about it on like for
Yeah.
free online. And it wasn't big at all in 2018. Like there was very little I could
No.
find on the internet.
Yeah.
And I would talk about it on YouTube and I would do my friends' charts and my friends' maps. And then end of 2021, I started my business because I was like, I love this so much. I've got to like share it with the world more publicly.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like the first time I learned about astrocartography was maybe around similar timing, like 2018, 2019. I had always
Hmm.
been interested in astrology. Like, I'm a Pisces, you have Scorpio rising. It's like we're just naturally called to these things. So, when I was a kid, it was like reading the horoscopes in the back of the magazines, but it really took me a long time before I even understood that they're like natal astrology. Like, sure, I would read Susan Miller's monthly forecasts all the time. Like that was kind of the only way I really like dabbled into it until I got my first birth chart reading, which was maybe like 2015, I believe. And that was such an unlock for me. I was like, holy shit, like this is why like I feel the way I do about all these things in my life. And like I had just never felt so affirmed before. And it really like blew my fucking world open. But still, it took me a couple years. Honestly, it was really until my Saturn return, which is my eighth house, that I started getting like wanting to actually like learn.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
like learn how
so,
to read charts.
right. And it
Yeah.
was still like very slow, but then, yeah, it's been maybe about 8 years now that I've been learning, like studying astrology and then, yeah, looking at everyone's charts and stuff. And I'm still not really sure like what I intend to do with all the knowledge I have accumulated, but
Yeah.
actually, Neptune just went into my 12th house. So since that's happened, I'm like, do I need to become an astrologer?
Ooh. Well, I'm always encouraging people to get into astrology and because more people need the support.
I
So many
know.
people, like, it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, and
I
it's
know.
hard to learn. It takes
It,
years to really get good at it. And it's like, if you have that tool and you know how to do it, I mean, so many people are like looking for astrologers, it's what a
I
great
know.
time.
I know. Yeah, so we'll see how that continues to evolve. I want to hear more about like what was going on in your chart when you moved that kind of helped
Hmm.
you tap into learning more about astrology and astrocartography. Like where was this all
Yeah.
where was this what was happening in your chart?
Oh, yeah. So I was in Jupiter return.
Ah.
And Jupiter was going through my first, but in the relocation chart for France, it's going through my
Mhm.
ninth. And the ninth house is
Oh,
so
okay.
connected to astrology, right?
Yeah,
And
for sure.
the house of God, philosophy. I was getting really into all things ninth house. Like
Mhm.
I was writing on Instagram and my blog and making YouTube videos about culture and life in France. And it was just like all of that was activated at that time during the Jupiter return.
Yeah.
And another thing that happened, the big turning point for me was when I entered a major peak period in my zodiac releasing. I don't know if you use Hellenistic timing techniques like
Oh
annual
no.
perfections or zodiac releasing, but it's one of my favorite timing techniques to kind of understand someone's biography in terms of the book of their life and where are they in their chapters, their sections of
Hmm.
their book.
Right.
And in the chapters section, which is called a level 2, I was in a major peak period, which is a time of like activating your fate. And it's in my charts in my fourth house, which has a lot to do with, home and
Yep.
roots and helping people find home. And that's what it
Hmm.
all really started.
Wow, I love that. Okay, so for people who don't fully know, just explain what exactly astrocartography is.
Yeah, it's locational astrology, but on the map. So, locational astrology is like a major umbrella of the astrology of place and location and how your stories shift. Your life events change, your energy shift when you move to different parts of the world, when you travel to different parts of the world. But in the 1970s, a genius man named Jim Lewis created astrocartography. And this is essentially creating a map of where the planets were angular or on
Mm-hmm.
the four angles at the
Hmm.
exact moment you were born. So, like, Venus was rising in one part of the world in this location at the moment you were born, or the moon was setting in this location. And so these lines, these beautiful colored lines, like, and you could use astro.com as a great free website to like pull this up for free and see where your lines are. But
That's what I
these, I
use.
call them power places because when you
Mm.
get close to them, it's like you're in this energetic influence of that planet and how it is positioned in your birth chart. So, like, your Venus story is going to be different from my Venus story. Your Jupiter line
Right.
is going to be different from my Jupiter line. And like kind of the blueprint, the promise, the story that's baked into your chart. And so
Hmm.
when you go close to these lines, you feel them. I mean, I've been testing this full time in my life, traveling the world, like doing this work to see what it's like. And
Yeah.
it's like you could get on a plane and fly over and just notice how your mind shifting and your energy shifting and the things you're thinking about on the plane ride. And it's like you could track it and watch like where you are and then pull up your astrocartography map at the same time And it is so spot on. I've done the craziest things where like I'll manifest things when I'm flying over my Jupiter line, for instance, and I'll land and something
Oh,
crazy happens. It's so fascinating. It's literal too. Like sometimes it's really literal, the events that transpire when you go to these lines. And also
yeah.
there's other times where it's like it's activating a story within you, an aspect of your consciousness, an aspect of
Hmm.
your energy. So
Yeah.
it's all about being in places that activate a part of your story.
I never even like considered that, like, okay, if you're flying over a line that you can
Oh,
use it in
yeah.
that way. That's so cool. And now, can you also explain what a relocation chart is?
Yeah. So the same birth chart that you have, if you change the location to a different place in your birth information, and then you have to adjust the time because of the time zone shift,
Mm,
your houses, the only thing that shifts are the houses. So your
yeah.
planets will stay the same, but the houses and the angles, and also the aspects to angles. So, like for instance, in a new location, you might have Mars trining the ascendant, or you might
Mm,
have Saturn squaring the midheaven in a new
right.
location. So
Right, right, right.
that goes a little bit more into the details, but essentially a relocation chart is your birth chart for that place.
Hmm.
So if you took your first breath at the exact same moment, but you were born here in this part of the world, this is the
Right.
story. And that's where it's kind of like you're getting a Google Street View of all aspects of your life and all areas of your life if you're in a
Yeah.
new location.
Right. It's literally like you can be a different person if you go to a different part of the world. My astrologer had done my relocation chart for, I don't know if she actually specifically did it for London. It was right before I was actually going on a trip to south of France. So I'm like, she could have done it for either there or maybe London. Obviously, they're not too far off, but I'm a Leo rising in Europe.
Yes, you are. And you got Mercury on the midheaven too, out
Oh,
there in like,
that makes,
Ireland, Portugal, Spain. It's like writing, speaking, media work can be more
yep.
visible for those types of things.
Totally. Yep. That feels very much aligned for me. Um, so okay, if you're traveling to a specific line for the first time, it's like, how long does it take for that energy to kick in? Is it immediate?
It's immediate. Yeah. But the real literal manifestations where like things outside of you are just happening,
Yeah.
that's where we go to the next level, which is when you have transits or progression. So the timing is hitting those lines.
Okay. Yeah.
But you feel it. You'll feel differently the minute you land somewhere. I mean, I've even tracked this like local train rides, car
Right.
road trips, cruises. I love to test my lines while I'm cruising and I'm going to different latitudes. And I'm like,
Right.
and it's crazy. It's so spot on. I'll never forget. I went up to Norway and I literally was like writing in my journal every day. I'm in this location. This is how I'm feeling. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
I go back home and I'm vlogging for my YouTube channel and recording all the data for people.
Yeah.
I don't know about my map. I don't know what's going on in those areas. And then I get home, I look at the map, and I make new videos about what it was, and it's spot on. It's so crazy.
Wow. And okay, so another thing for me when I've looked at, because I actually like tried to plan a trip last year that was like loosely based on my astrocartography. I went to Madrid. I spent like 2 weeks in Madrid and I'd also gone to Sevilla. I can't remember what line is close to there.
So Madrid is closer to your moon descendant line. So that's a partnership and relationship line in Madrid.
Right. Right. So I think that's why I went there.
You know what? I would go there when
Mm,
the nodes enter Capricorn and Cancer. Your moon's at 25
yeah.
Capricorn. So ideally, we want to
Oh,
be there when there's a major activation to that moon.
hmm.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, the North Node's going to be on your moon. This is like spring of 28, like May, June of 28.
Okay, so something about that though that I was very curious about is like how far outside the line can you feel that energy? Because, I don't think it's not directly going through Madrid or like that part, but it was the closest line. So sometimes I'm just confused as to like how close do you have to be to the line to feel that energy?
Yeah, so your moon line is 121 miles away from Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
So that is within orb of an intense strength. So
Okay.
Jim Lewis taught how there's different orbs. So there's like an intense strength, which is like 150 miles roughly.
Mm-hmm.
My ideal goal is to get someone within 200 miles.
Oh,
But
okay.
every just all astrologers, we all use different orbs.
Right.
But you can use up to 700 miles and
Okay.
still be within orb of the story of that planetary line. But 150 to 200 miles is always my goal.
Interesting. Okay. Got it. So
Yeah.
now, so let's kind of get into the nitty gritty of like each sign. Like, if you want to find love, is it as easy as just traveling to your Venus line?
No, not at all. Because
Right.
one, you got to time it. I have a lot of clients, they go to these love lines and there's
Right.
nothing being activated in their chart timing wise. And I really lead with the natal chart,
Yeah.
like what's going on in their fifth and their seventh houses.
Right.
Um, but also, if they want to go to a specific line, like a relationship line, and relationship lines, I'm always looking at the descendant lines. So the lines that are labeled
Right.
DSC or DC. And
Mm-hmm.
I want to see something activating that planetary line. So the timing is the first big thing.
Got it.
And then the second big thing is your person might be from there. So you could meet someone in your town or place, but that person is from that country.
Right.
That's where it's like, it's not the astrocartography map is showing you where things are happening, but also where you have stories and where these people are coming from in your life.
So that actually is a perfect segue into something that I wanted to talk about because in my mid 20s, I suddenly fell into a group of Swedes. Like for maybe like a solid 3 years, I was really close with a bunch of Swedes and also was having some romantic entanglements with Swedish men. And I had never been there, but they were like the energy of Sweden was like so present in my life. I think maybe it was like 2 years before I actually ever even went to Sweden, and I've been there a few times now. It's truly like actually one of my favorite countries, especially Stockholm. I considered even moving there, but I was like, what is it with me and Swedish people and Swedish men?
Well, you have the lunar nodes going through Sweden, and the north node and the south node, they're both going through there. And the south node is exactly on the IC, and the north node's exactly on the midheaven, like 0 degrees. So it's really powerful in terms of karmic, dharmic, fated, important, significant themes that are happening in your life.
Yeah.
But the south node on the IC, everyone's got a different opinion on this, but I like to think of it
Mm.
as past life or
Mm.
a familiarity, a feeling
Yeah.
of I know you, I've connected with you before. That feeling of the past or foundations or something that feels instantly knowing or karmic,
Yeah.
that's when the nodes are on the IC and the south node, which is like often the
Right.
past symbolized
Totally.
on the IC, is going right through Sweden.
It's so fascinating. And I definitely feel like many of the people that I was hanging out with and like some of the men that I was involved with, like 100% felt so fated. There was like, I think maybe actually like the first Swedish guy that I liked. I've written about this for my newsletter, but I was like at a club in New York City one night and I was leaving, like left my friends there. I was like, I'm ready to go home and I'm walking to catch a cab and I see a cab go by me and all of a sudden the cab had stopped and the guy literally hopped out of the taxi and ran to me and was like, "Where are you going?" And I was like, "I'm going home." And he was like, "No, will you please come back and have a drink with me?" And I was like, I kind of for a second pretended like I
Wow.
I wasn't going to, but then I was like, "Fine, okay, I'll go back with you." And so we had a drink and chatted for a bit and it was like his second night in New York on like a 10-day trip and we spent every single day together. We were like in love for 10 days.
Oh
And
my
then he's the reason
gosh.
why I first went to Sweden.
Wow.
I
So
know.
yeah, that's a That's a massively powerful place for you. And your whole life, there will be a connection with Sweden. And it's interesting because in New York, and this is your birth chart, right? You're a Taurus rising, you've
Yes.
got Jupiter, the Sun, and Venus in Pisces
Yeah.
in the 11th. So it's like, it's a very social place for you. The East Coast is a lot
Yes.
about friends and community and all of
For
that.
sure.
And then the South Node in the seventh. So like the South Node moves to the fourth house when you're in Sweden, but it's in the seventh house of relationships when you're on the East Coast and in your birth chart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's so
And they're
fascinating.
angular. You know, the angular houses are the most
Right.
powerful, the most potent. It's when like things become physical, become literal, become real.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my God. This is really fascinating because obviously, like, I don't know that much about astrocartography. Like, I go on astro.com and I look at it, but the way that you're able to apply it also to my birth chart, that's like beyond me.
oh
So,
yeah. Oh yeah. And you know, I would be looking to, you know, one thing I've noticed is I find a lot of my clients, they meet their partner on surprising lines. Like even the Saturn descendant. I've had so many married
Mhm.
couples that have been together 20 years and they met their
Yeah.
partner on the Saturn descendant. But I often like to look at the ruler of where Pisces is. I'm sorry, Venus. So Venus is in Pisces in your chart. So
Right.
we'd look to the Venus placement and what's the ruler of the zodiac sign? So Jupiter. So Jupiter descendant lines. And I've
Mm.
actually noticed that for you in your chart, you have a lot of them in Asia, like the UAE, Georgia. I don't know if you've ever met anyone or connected with people that are from those countries. You also have a lot of descendant lines over in India too. So connections or cultures or people that are from there can be important for you.
I'm like, I don't think I've ever really connected with anyone from that part of the world.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to add that to the list.
Yeah, just
Um,
kind of an idea to think about.
for sure. So you mentioned before New York, which is where I'm born and raised. My moon
Hmm.
line is there. Like, what does living on your moon line, like, what does that typically denote for
Yeah,
people?
it's a place where people feel really connected to their desires and their heart. And you have like the moon on the MC, which represents
Okay.
service and sharing and being public. And I
Yeah.
always like to think of moon on the MC as like being a voice or the desire to support people, to
Hmm.
help people. And so that's really beautiful to
That is
have.
very much my calling.
Yes, yeah, and that's right in that area. And so that's great for career. I love that for service, the desire to help people. Moon on the ascendant, I find a lot of people love that line for just a place of feeling at home somewhere in the world or feeling a feeling of peace, tranquility, relaxed in an area. It's one of the
Hmm.
happy lines I find for people's moon on the ascendant. Moon on the descendant is more bonds, emotionally bonding, relating, and connecting with others. And then moon on the
Right.
IC is a big home location. And I've even seen for people who don't want to live in a place where their moon IC line is, their ancestry is comes from that plate part of the world. So their mother
Right.
and or the grandparents are far back in the ancestry. There's a connection to that place. So that's how it kind of works on the four angles.
Yeah, I was actually just trying to look up this morning because both my parents are born in Jamaica. And so I was like, oh, I wonder if I have, but I don't remember if I saw, but I'm sure you can look at it. Yeah, tell
Yeah,
me.
you actually have the South Node on the descendant out there. So that's
There you
more
go.
relationship type things. But the moon line, and it's is it on your mom's side?
It's both,
Both. Oh, okay. Because
both my
yeah,
parents.
the moon lines are often connected to a mother figure or
Right.
a woman or a parent in our lives. But I would say the big thing is that South Node on the descendant in Jamaica. And also, I want to look a little closer. One thing that not a lot of people talk about that I am
Mm,
obsessed with sharing about
tell
astrocartography is
me.
parents, parent
Right.
lines. And this is like the game changer because parents are latitude crossings and they're created when two astrocartography lines cross. So when
Hmm.
they cross at that moment of intersection, that place is super powerful because it brings the blend of two stories. Let's say you have like South Node on the descendant, right, and Moon on the midheaven. At that point of intersection where those lines cross, it's creating that
Hmm.
story of career and relationship stories that are happening in that
Right.
place. And so that energy that happens at that point, it extends around the globe. So there'll be energies at certain latitudes. So like if you go up to New York, it might have one energy. But if you go down to
Mhm.
Washington, D.C. or Virginia, it'll have a completely different story or energy,
Right.
even if you're on the same like moon midheaven line, for instance.
Right.
Going north or south is going to be different because of that blend of that parent.
Yeah. I know that's the thing. Yeah, with astrocartography, it's like it's not just obviously it's longitude and latitude. Like
Yes.
so there's a lot to work with.
Yeah, exactly. And like for instance, let me see if I can find some examples. Any places that you're curious about though, top of mind?
Well, I live in London, which I know is on my Chiron line.
London, UK.
Yeah.
Oh, where your Chiron line?
Yes, isn't my Chiron line there?
No, you have a Chiron line closer in the East Coast. In the UK, you have Mercury and Venus that are the closest ones.
Oh,
And then
wait.
you do have a Mars Chiron Perrin close to London. Maybe that's what you're thinking?
Yeah, it's showing me I have Chiron trine my MC.
Oh, that's aspects. That's an aspect.
Ah,
Uh-huh.
got
That's
it.
not a main planetary line. So if we think about like
Ah,
what's most important, like kind of like breaking it down, first things first, planetary lines. Like that's going to be the
right.
big thing that you feel. And so the
Right.
closest one you got to London is that Mercury on the midheaven. That's within orb. That's, 400
Oh,
miles away. So you're closest to Mercury on your career, being,
right.
being in media,
Yeah.
podcasting, social media,
Yes.
all of that. And
Okay.
then the second most important thing is the parent. And in terms of the parents, you got a Jupiter Neptune that's in London.
Hmm.
And that's Jupiter culminating, which is on your midheaven, so your career. So Jupiter career type thing. So teaching, publishing, astrology,
Right.
spiritual work, writing
Yes.
books. And then you have Neptune setting, which is about relationships. So could be working one-on-one with clients or like
Hmm.
spiritual type relationships coming into your life that can support your career.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna
Yeah.
say, I do also feel like part of the reason why I like being here is also that dating is better for me here than
Yes.
in New York.
Hmm. Totally. And I love that Neptune Jupiter parent that's in London. And you do have the Chiron trine, the Chiron sextile, and those are lovely for feeling more relaxed. Healing places, great for teaching. I
Yeah.
love Chiron for being a teacher, an astrologer, someone who wants to be of service.
Yeah.
But the big things are those planetary lines and those parents. And it's like you've got Mars in the fifth. So I love that for dating. Mars in the
Right.
fifth in the relocation chart
Patient
is really
chart.
fun for
Yes.
dating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And Mercury's in your ninth too, by the way, in the relocation chart for London.
I know I actually have to, I don't look at my relocation chart very much. So, but I remember the last time I talked about it a little bit with an astrologer friend of mine. She was saying that, um, because obviously I have an eighth house stellium. So I think
Yes.
that gets pushed into what, my seventh or,
So it depends on the
right,
house system you use.
right.
But
I
in
think
whole
she used
sign,
whole
we got
sign.
Sun, Jupiter, Venus in the eighth. And it can be the seventh if you're using Placidus. But yeah, Mercury on the midheaven is like the closest, biggest energy that you have in London.
Mm. Okay, tell me some things about living on your Mars line.
Oh, yeah. Mars lines are great for initiating things, starting
Hmm.
things. If you need courage, you need confidence, you want to start a business, be an entrepreneur. These are great lines for. I always go to my Mars line when I need to launch something or if I'm lacking energy in the middle of a launch, I will go out to my Mars ascendant line and be like, okay, let's push through next week.
And where is
But
that for you? Where is
that's
that
in
for you?
Greece.
Oh,
Yeah,
great
in
place.
Greece.
Great
I
place to go
know.
get some energy.
Yeah, but it is challenging though. I mean, I went out and I didn't know about astrocartography at the time, but I went out for my honeymoon and we spent
Oh.
2 months exactly on my Mars ascendant line when we went to Egypt. And for 2 months we were living out there for our honeymoon. This was in 2018. And I was feeling so irritable and like I have my Mars in Aries too. So it's just like on the
Oh,
ascendant, I had so much energy. I was going, going, going. I was doing 3 scuba dives a day and also starting my
yeah.
blog and trying to get
Right.
my business off the ground on a honeymoon. Like I
Your
have so much
your partner was
energy
probably like,
on
"Can
a,
you chill
I know.
out?"
Yeah. And like every time we do go to that line, you get so much energy, but it is not a place of relaxation for sure. For relaxation, a peaceful, vacation, I always recommend Neptune lines. People love a Neptune
Mm,
IC line for a vacation, or even a moon line. Moon lines are wonderful for a trip or a vacation. And then Jupiter lines are so great for travel, learning, expanding your
yeah.
horizons, a cultural trip, wanting to learn history, connect with family, a multi-generational family trip. I love for Jupiter lines. And I always go to my Jupiter lines when I like want to cast the vision for the year ahead. So like every New Year's or in January, I'll go out to my Jupiter line and basically like plant the seeds for the year ahead, map out the
Right.
next 12 months, and just go big and start the year big.
Damn. It really makes you like rethink what it means to travel, right? And like how you can get the most out of an experience. Because, okay, what happens if you travel to a place where you don't have any lines or like you're not in the orb of any planetary action?
I find a lot of people who are reflectors or projectors actually love being in a place where there's no planetary lines
Hmm.
because it feels very spacious. There's
Mm,
a lack of urgency because with these planetary lines, they do really feel like an energy, but also it's kind of like you're in the middle of a big story and you're in it, you could just feel the intensity or the urgency of that planet and what that story is kind of sharing with you and wants you to lean into. And so when
yeah.
you live in a place where you have a lot of spaciousness, I find it can be very nice. A lot of people don't want to live in places where there is that sense of
Right.
urgency or story. And so for creatives, I love this. For projectors, reflectors, I love this.
Hmm.
And the other thing is you've still got parents. So if you don't have an astrocartography line close by or within orb, the secondary influence of that parent becomes a primary influence. It becomes really important for that area.
Right.
And then the third thing is you still have a relocation chart. So even if you don't
Right.
have an astrocartography line, you still got the chart, and that will tell the story as well.
Okay. And now let's talk about maybe some more like difficult places, like living near a Pluto Saturn line.
Yeah.
What can that bring up?
Yeah. The most challenging ones I find for people, and it depends on the chart, but
Yeah.
often Uranus lines,
Mm,
specifically Uranus on the IC, can bring a sense of disruption to
instability.
the home life. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Or like the person's always moving, the person has issues with plumbing or electricity. I see this all the time. People have really weird experiences on like the Uranus IC line,
Hmm.
or just feeling unsettled. And then Pluto lines are intense. Pluto lines, bring up a sense of drama or psychological introspection or just
Hmm.
a feeling of intensity about something you're experiencing. I always like to say that Pluto makes the small things really big. So if you're an overthinker, Pluto lines can feel like the small things become really big. Or
Yeah.
like if you're on a Mercury Pluto latitude, right, a latitude line, that parent, these places can kind of make things a little bit more intense. Pluto nodes can just feel like you're in your
Mm,
head a lot, but they can also be powerful places of change. I have multiple friends
right.
that live directly on Pluto lines and they love them.
Yeah.
So I usually don't recommend it. For a lot of people, I don't recommend Pluto lines because they are, about metaphorical death and rebirth and
Right.
transformation and letting go and surrender. And then Saturn lines are about responsibility, duty, and obligation and seriousness. I live super close to my Saturn ascendant line, and I've been here the
Okay.
last 8 years. For
Hmm.
me, it's been amazing, but that's because my Saturn in my chart is protected. I have like a trine from Jupiter, I've got a square
Okay.
from Venus. So this is where it
Oh.
gets really detailed of like, what's your Saturn story?
Right.
Some people have really amazing times on Mars lines, but they have challenges on Saturn lines. For me, it's the opposite. I like thrive on
Mm,
Saturn, but I have a lot of
yeah.
difficulty on Pluto lines, even Sun lines. I have a lot of difficulty consistently because my Sun has more harder aspects to it. And for instance, Mars lines. And so those typically are the harder places, are like Mars, Saturn, Pluto, and Uranus. But
Hmm.
again, depends on the aspects to your and the condition of your planet in your chart.
Right. And I don't know that we talked about this specifically, but uh living on your Venus line, it's not
Hmm.
always necessarily that like this is the place that you're going to find love, right? Because Venus also
No.
represents money, beauty.
Yeah.
Like, are you going to feel better about your appearance? Can you come into some money? Like what's that
Yeah.
bringing up?
Absolutely. Venus is about values and pleasure. I call it the simple
Yeah.
joys line, but
Yeah.
it's a place where you really feel like you can slow down and really soak in the sensory aspect of life.
Hmm.
Whether that's, you can slow down more, you connect more with beauty and design and nature and, connection. And some people do find love on Venus lines, even like a
Right.
Venus ascendant line, but most of the time, it's just a feeling of tapping into your Venusian aspect of your sense of self. And I
Yeah.
find, a lot of designers, interior designers, musicians, artists, they live on Venus MC lines. And I
Mm.
do find that Venus lines are places you can make a lot more money. I've seen this for a lot of clients, specifically with Venus on the MC.
Okay. Yeah.
And Venus lines in general are really helpful for that. Values, investments, home, all of that.
Okay, if someone's planning a vacation, I feel like
Mhm.
what, going towards Venus, Jupiter lines.
Overall, yeah. I would say
Oh,
if you don't know how to read your chart, I would say,
don't use ChatGPT.
yeah, don't use ChatGPT because it's wrong.
It's
I've
so
been,
wrong.
I've
It's
been
so
test,
wrong.
I know I've been testing this for me and my family members, and they get the angles wrong. They say there's a Jupiter line when there's not one, or like they just don't take into consideration parents at all or the chart itself.
Oh no.
Um, but I would say overall, Venus and Jupiter lines are amazing to plan trips on, usually, especially if it's a short term thing. If it's not like you're moving there and you just want to plan a 1 week vacation, I find usually Venus and Jupiter lines are the best.
Right.
And
Okay.
sun lines are really helpful for
Oh.
clarity,
Mm.
like receiving clarity, illuminating an aspect of who you
Right.
are, what you want, shining in your true self expression, being creative, stepping into leadership, wanting to be more assertive or like assert your will in a stronger way. I find sun lines are really helpful for that.
Amazing. I love that. Um, okay, back to me.
Yeah.
I think like something that I'm really struggling with right now, and maybe astrocartography like actually can't solve this for me, but obviously I live between two places. I spend about half the year in London, half the year in New York. But there is a part of me that, this year I'm like, I really do want to kind of start to build roots somewhere. And I'm a Taurus rising, so it's like as much as I
Yeah.
like to travel around and whatnot, there is a part of me that's like, but I really need like that secure base.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really tricky because I have the freedom to be anywhere. So
Yeah.
it actually makes it really hard to decide where do I actually want to be. And of course, I do think that ultimately it's like New York is probably the best place for me because that's where my biggest network is. My family is there, everything is there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm like, but is Europe just a better place for me?
Yeah. Well, I always like to look at the IC for a feeling of home and roots.
Yeah,
And if we can't get something on the IC, even like a moon node parent is really wonderful for a sense of home.
yeah,
You do have, the south node on your IC in Europe, which usually is an indicator of someone who can feel very comfortable in a location or like
yeah,
it's a place where they feel a sense of familiarity or connection with a place. And
totally.
so, that's going right through Sweden. Have you visited Sweden specifically?
Yeah, I've been there like three times. I haven't been since 2019. I really need to go. I'm gonna try to go this summer because I haven't seen my friends that live
Yeah.
there in so long.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely
Yeah.
gonna try to get out there.
And like Stockholm, you have a moon Jupiter pairing, which is one of my favorites for overall feeling a sense of happiness. And let me
I
see
love
what
Stockholm.
what line is that? That's relationships. So moon and Jupiter are setting or on the relationship point in Stockholm. So
Oh
important
God.
relationships are coming from there. And you have a moon Mercury setting parent in Stockholm, which is more themes of relationships. Moon Jupiter, moon Mercury, all relationship stories.
Wow.
And oh my God, you have Mercury Jupiter also there, which is great for writing and having
They-
ideas and doing your
Right.
podcast and everything. But that's also setting. So relationship themes again. And you have the
Wow. Do I
South Node
need
on IC. So Stockholm, I would say, is a consideration.
Man, Do I need to just go set up shop there for the summer? Like, find my husband, get some work done.
Yeah, I mean, that's a powerful place for meeting people. The other thing I would say is like, where's your family located?
In New York.
In New York. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, your Venus and your Jupiter are beautifully placed in your chart. Like you have an exalted Venus,
Yeah.
your Jupiter's in domicile, strong aspects, right? And so you do have
Hmm.
Venus and Jupiter in the US. You got Jupiter going, it's on your ascendant going through California area.
I know, which
And
is so
then
funny because I have zero desire to live
okay, yeah.
there.
And that's something I always like to tell people is like, you've got these lines and these stories, but it doesn't mean you should move there, you know?
Right.
And that's
Right.
always like, do a gut check, check in with your soul. It's like process of elimination. It's kind of like when we're looking at transits, we're like, oh, we see a sixth house transit. Is that about pets? Is that about health? Is that about work and coworkers, right? It's kind of
Yeah.
like we use process of elimination to figure out, what is something. But the
Yeah.
other option, I'm just thinking about the US specifically,
Yeah.
but you do have a Venus line going right through the middle of the US, but that's like Texas area. I don't know if you'd want to live there. Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny. I actually do really like Austin,
Oh,
Texas, and
cool.
I did meet someone there that I dated very briefly a couple years ago, although he was English. But
Mhm.
it's funny. No, it wasn't the first time I went there. The second time I went there, I went to Austin. I had been in Arizona right before, and I wasn't feeling great there. But as soon as I got to Austin, I felt this like insane energy shift. And it just felt
Wow.
so like light and fun there. And
Yeah, that's
so
your Venus.
there you go. But yeah, I don't know that I could actually really live there, but I do
Yeah.
really like to visit. I think it's such a great city.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, you have Venus. Let's see, you have a Venus ascendant line in Austin, Texas, which is like, it's wonderful for your overall feeling good, feeling really
Right.
light. You got a Neptune line too, so it's like really dreamy and magical. But
How
I would say my places for you would be Stockholm, Sweden area. And
Yep.
then I do really like New York just because you're close to that moon line.
Right.
But I would say latitude wise, you're not, you don't have any difficult parents within orb of New York, so that's nice. I would say New York and Sweden are like my favorite spots.
So funny. What about Portugal? Because I really like it there.
Yeah,
I went to Lis
Portugal.
I went to Lisbon for the first time in 2023, and like I went in but with like no expectations about it, and I just like had such a great time there.
Yeah, I would say if you were to do Portugal, you could do
Hmm.
the Algarve region, like down in the south. Lisbon
Oh,
has
I
a really
went there.
magical Sun Neptune, which is great for creativity and
Hmm.
spirituality. I like that for those types of things, but you do have a Pluto node line going through Lisbon,
Oh.
which is a little bit more intense. I usually don't love it for long-term living. It's a place of
Right.
transformation,
Yeah.
reset, all of that. So I would say if you were going to do Portugal, I like the
Where's
southern
that?
part of the Algarve region the most. And then Porto,
Okay.
which is another cool city.
Right. There,
You do
yeah,
have
there's a line there.
yeah, there is a line there, and that's a relationship line. And the moon lines I do love for a feeling of home. And
Mm,
that's really close to the Porto region.
so fascinating.
So if you
It's
were to
like
do Portugal, Porto
yeah.
specifically,
Yeah, or
and
Algarve.
that's a really cool spot in Portugal, but I like
Yeah, I've
Porto more
heard.
than Lisbon. And then that
Yeah.
moon relationship line is right there. So it's going to really emphasize relationships in your life.
Cool. Wow, this has been very, very eye-opening for me. It's like it just like actually changes the way that you look at the world.
Oh, I know. And it's a lot of detail and a lot of complexity, but the big
For
thing I always
sure.
like to leave people with is like your map of the world shows you where your stories are too. And so even if you
Hmm.
can't travel or move there, it's like,
Yeah.
where are your people from? The people you're connecting with, the people you're collaborating with, right? Like
Yeah.
you live on my Mercury line. I have a Mercury line in London and I have a Mercury line in New York. And it's all
Hmm.
about, podcasting and collaboration and connection with other people, talking
Right.
about things. And so it's like,
Right.
even if you don't live in London, even if you don't live in a part of the world, you have stories that are existing all the time. And it's
Yeah.
just about connecting with these people. Like I reached out to an astrologer to have her on my podcast a long time ago. And I didn't know this at the time, but she has her sun midheaven line going right through Paris where I live. So
Oh,
I call that line the publicity line because you're getting massive
right.
exposure.
Yeah.
And she's been on so many podcasts, and she told me, she said, I've never had the kind of people wanting to book her. She was booked for like 4 months after the podcast episode aired. Like she got so
Wow.
much work, so many clients, so many views, so many people followed her. And
Wow.
it's connecting with me because I
Right.
live on her sun midheaven line. And so that's kind of the magic of astrocartography.
Right.
You can tap in at any point. You can set your VPN you to those places
Right.
in the world. You can order your produce, get your coffee from that part of the world, you know? Like I
Right.
get my favorite chocolates are from Madagascar. And it's like there's the magical Venus line, right? It's like this is how magical it can be even if you don't travel
Right.
somewhere.
There are so many ways to, yeah, like bring that energy into your life or like tap into it.
Yeah.
So incredible. Okay, I feel very, very inspired. Before I let you go, two questions. I'm like, do you have any astrology hot takes? About, the state of astrology online right now is very,
Oh,
very precarious.
I have so many hot takes, but the biggest one is I think we need to work together. I think it's weird. I've been talking to so many of my friends and like people in different industries that will follow astrologers. And
Hmm.
it's been weird to watch, especially in the last couple of years, how astrologers are going after one another.
Yeah.
When instead, I think we should be realizing like we're in a weird field. We're in a taboo, we're on the
Mhm.
fringes of society. And
Yeah.
astrology, I think, is going to get massively under attack by government, by traditional people
Yeah.
in the coming years. And I think more than anything, we need to stop seeing each other as competition, as a threat, and
Totally.
instead learn to be open and curious and non-judgmental and try to understand one another instead of judging each other on social media. I can't tell you the amount of people who meet me in person and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like you're so much nicer than you seem on social media or something." And I'm like,
Well,
there's
and you
gotta
seem
there
so
I
nice.
know. But it's like I think social media has made it almost seem like it's harder to connect, right? Because of media and TikTok and all these things.
Right.
That's
And
why yeah.
there's this inherent like air of competition that's like baked
Yes.
into any connection that you make.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like I'm always shouting people out. I'm always openly talking about people that I love and mentoring new astrologers and having them on my website so they can get their first readings. I've helped so many people start their businesses that just
Yeah.
started a year ago and people are getting fully booked and it's just like I wish we could all be cheerleaders
For
for
one
each other
another.
in like a
Yeah.
really authentic, open-hearted way and I don't see a lot of that and I want to start doing conferences. I want to start building a community of people who are supporting each other. You know, I'm going to Norwalk. I don't know if you're going to Norwalk or
I
UAC
know
later this year.
I was thinking about it. I've
Yeah.
never been to an astrology conference and I'm like I
Yeah.
really need to go because I can
Yeah.
only imagine like how fun it is to be in a
Yeah.
place where everyone speaks the same language.
I know. And I'm like so excited. Like Jupiter's going through my ninth and I'm like, I gotta go to all the conferences this year and you know. And so yeah, I would say that's my biggest hot take. Same with like
Yeah.
house systems. Like everyone's always like attacking each other for like different systems they use, or I use True Sky method. That's the only one that works. You know, you always seeing
I
stuff like that
know.
online. And I'm just like, guys, there's so many systems, there's so many ways of doing things. Let's all support each other for even just getting out there and sharing your voice and sharing what you love. Like that takes balls to share your passion for astrology on the internet, you know?
Totally, totally. Wait, you're a whole sign
I'm a whole
person.
sign girly, but I studied under Placidus for 10 years.
I know. So that's my thing is I started under Placidus
Yeah.
because my astrologer, who is also a teacher who I learned from, does Placidus. But
Yeah.
obviously, lately I'm switching back and forth. Like
Yes.
obviously whole sign is a little bit just like cleaner,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but I think even for my chart personally, I have a couple of placements that shift if I
Mm-hmm.
go from Placidus to whole
Yeah.
sign. So sometimes I'm like, am I a 11th house Venus or am I a 12th house Venus? Like I
Yeah.
actually feel like I really am a 12th house Venus.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't,
Yeah. And I always say what I do is because I use Placidus for most of my work, and then I switched to whole sign. And what I do is I like to just follow the transits because my placements change too, big time.
Right.
And it's like, I just like to follow the transits of like, okay, this day I'm getting this transit and it's hitting this planet in this house. What if I
Yeah.
switch that to Placidus? Because if I switch it to Placidus, it's going to be a different story that's coming up.
Right.
You know, fifth house, fourth house, super different. And so
Right.
I would say track your transits and what is literally coming up in your
Ah,
life during those time periods. And then track the
okay.
data and pick the
Yeah.
one that's most consistent in your life.
Okay. Wow. That is a really, really good tip.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try that.
Yeah.
Final question. What's bringing you joy right now?
Oh, so many things. I'm a Taurus girly. I love the simple
Yeah.
joys. I love walking down the street in my little town in Versailles and smelling the flowers and walking with my husband on our morning walk, getting a cup of coffee, lighting candles all over my house. Like it's the simple things. I got flowers on my coffee table. I'm just like, give me
Totally.
all the sensory smells and the little simple joys. That's what gives me life.
I from a Taurus rising girly to a Taurus sun, I see you. I hear you.
I love it.
Truly, truly.
I
Because
love
those are
it.
all my simple pleasures as well. Minus the
Yes.
husband, but I would love to have the husband.
Yes, exactly. It's coming. Yes. I'm excited. You have to keep me posted on what goes on in
Yes.
Stockholm
Yes.
and Porto.
Yes. Absolutely. Helena, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you.
Thanks. And if anyone wants to follow me, I'm over on
Yes,
Instagram at Ms. Helena Woods. I post every day there. I have a
she
YouTube
sure
channel, a
does.
podcast on astrocartography, and then I am teaching a free masterclass on how to bring the energies of these places in the world right now and how you can start using it today. And that's going to be on May 9th called Grid Activation. So you can sign up for free if you're interested.
I'm definitely going to be signing up,
Oh,
so I'll see you there.
amazing. Thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you.